So I'm here at the RA Dinghy Show with Nick Thompson, and we're going to give you some tips on starting. So Nick, for someone new to the sport, start lines can look confusing. What should they look for?
That's a good question. I mean, the start line can look like a confusing place, and a lot of boats sailing around in different directions until finally a gun goes and they all go in one direction. I think there's a good YouTube clip of an Irish comedian actually showing how confusing a start is. But in general, I mean, the basic rule is you've got to be behind the line before the gun goes, and then obviously you want to be as close to the line as possible so that you're close to the first mark. Great.
So, top tips for getting a good start.
The number one top tip would be don't be over the line early. You know, that's a pretty basic one, but the rest of it really, you know, I'd say the biggest thing, and something I talked about a lot in my talk, was it was about sort of getting, you know, the preparation done early. If you get all the things done early, you really kind of stand the best chance of getting a good start. And you know, we're talking about getting out on the water early and ticking off the boxes almost, so that when you roll into the 3 minutes, say, before the start, you know exactly where you want to be positioned.
So, what are your start line preparations? That leads nicely in.
So, generally, I'd say the things I try and consider are all the factors that are going to play into that race. So, when I get out in the water early, I'm sort of looking at trying to make sure I'm up to speed, make sure the boat's set up right, look at the conditions for that day and what's going to be important, and highlight the areas I think are going to be important. Maybe pick a side on the upwind leg and see which side I think's maybe going to be favoured if there is one, and then probably check the line bias, get a transit, and go from there.
What pointers have you been giving in your talk?
So most of the things I've just said, but a couple of other things I think you know are very important and often overlooked is you know, getting the drift rate, the rate at which your boat's going to slide sideways, because obviously when you have, say in my class, 100 lasers lined up on a start line, there isn't a lot of movement to be had there, and the whole fleet's drifting at the same rate. So knowing where you're going to be in a minute's time is very important.
So what kind of start line questions have people been asking you at the show?
I've had some interesting ones. One of the questions was, if you have a start line off a club and you have a gate that's laid to leeward of the start line, how do you go about starting that? I think this one confused all 200 people in the room, including me, for a good couple of minutes, but finally we got to the end of that one, and the answer was go through the gate and then presume it's a normal start. So that was an interesting one. But the rest are, you know, just the normal ones. How do I kind of manage the risk and reward of a start? So, you know, how do I make the most of a situation where there's, for example, a huge pin end bias, but I want to go right on the beat? And you know, and I think the answer was you got to weigh out the risk and reward, as I just said.
Yeah, absolutely. So, can you talk us through the start line procedure when you have to be on the water, countdown, and positioning?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is make sure you get out there early enough. You know, generally speaking, I'd say I'd probably be on the water at least an hour before the start. Gives me time to go over my checklist of things I need to make sure I've covered before I go into that start. And then you kind of make sure you've got most of the things done well before that 5-minute gun goes. So you spend that 5 minutes, you know, still looking up wind, checking for the wind coming in and the shift pattern that you're on. Keep checking the line bias and the fleet position, and then you should be fine.
Great, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.